Hey everybody, welcome back to another movie review. Hope you guys been enjoying the content on the channel as of late. And we are back with another movie review. I will try to keep this bite-sized just because quite honestly I don't have so much to talk about in regards to this film. And as you can tell by my eyes, there's also a little bit of a tenderness to this film that I'm projecting onto. If you follow this channel for an extended period of time, I had lost a dog not too long ago, so obviously there is a little bit of a tenderness to watching this film, and there might have been a little bit of a motivation in that to go see the film. Um, but I just wanted to say that up front, just so because I'm gonna do my best to separate my my attachments to the furry animals to what the actual film is, and I was doing that while watching the review. So believe me, I'm doing my best to not color this review as much as possible. So I just want to make that disclaimer up front, just so just in case you're wondering, well, obviously it's because you have connections to these animals, so it's like, so I'm not going to have that factor into this review. I'm just putting that up front just so you understand what all this in my eyes and all that is going on. Um so so let's get into the review. So of course the film that I'm referring to came out last week is Arthur the King, which was directed by Simon Cillin Jones, who recently had collaborated with Mark Wahlberg on a film called The Family Plan, which we actually discussed on this channel. It's a film that I could have, or I don't know, I mean, depending on how it was going to go, but I was given a email from GoFobo, whatever it is. There was like a test screening process, yada yada yada. Um, but he did that as his first collaboration with Mark Wahlberg, and now his second collaboration with Arthur the King. And I believe that there's a third collaboration in the works. I'm not entirely sure, but um, starring Mark Wahlberg as a marathon runner, and he's very wanting to win a race. Uh, he wants to feel fulfilled in his life by achieving this goal to winning this particular race. And he's very self-centered. He's very selfish. He doesn't really rely upon his teammates. He just thinks more about himself and other people. And um, and he decides to go back and give it another shot. Rounds up a team, and along the way they meet a furry little animal while they're racing. They meet a little furry animal, and this furry little animal, this dog, is quite extraordinary. I believe probably highly embellished in the context of the movie. Because the marathon, is a 6-day run from Santo Domingo all the way to like I believe it was like Colorado or something like that. I forget what it was, but long distance run. And the dog somehow is able to keep up with Mark Wahlberg and company, and eventually the two, Mark Wahlberg and the dog, which he eventually names Arthur, start to develop a bond, and through that potentially he starts to let his guards kind of fall and rely upon more selfless acts than selfish ones. So going into this, obviously, as I said up front, there is the motivation for seeing an adorable little creature like Arthur on screen. I love dogs. I had a dog. It's a beautiful, beautiful friendship that it's very, very rare. Very, very special kind of bond. Um, and I mean, for starters, I mean, the obvious point of it is that Arthur himself is just an adorable creature. What an adorable pup it is. Every time he was on screen, like just smiling and stuff like that, I was just beaming from ear to ear. Just a beautiful, beautiful little creature. But discussing film proper though, like I said, I'm just separating from the batch just my overall feelings about animals, my attachments, and all that stuff. I'm just putting that aside for now, just so I can discuss proper the film, because ultimately the film does kind of rely upon said energy, your attachments to animals, your attachments to your bondage to those to dogs, and that's kind of the motivator of the film, because it's pretty much, as by definition, a feel good movie. And the problem with feel good type movies is that they wish to make you feel warm and fuzzy, but without the emotional heft to supply it, in that there's a lack of characterizations, a lack of developments. It just kind of just whiffs by, like just kind of goes through the motions. Um, and a lot of the camaraderie, a lot of the dynamics that are within this team just don't feel fully fleshed out. Like there's supposed to be like tensions between Simu Liu and Mark Wahlberg's character, and that just this feels like a throwaway thing. And Mark Wahlberg's whole arc as trying to be selfish, and becoming selfless, it just feels like they threw that away even before the race started, because he's very selfless throughout the entire race. At no point is he like projecting or acting off his own selfish needs. He's just being a very good person, and it just seems like that bait and switch just happens, and there's not any build up to that. So whatever they establish as the arc is just kind of thrown out the window once the race actually begins, and they focus more on just the adventure, just the spectacle that they could create out of the circumstance, because it is one of those based on a true story type things, meaning that it's heavily embellished, and it feels like that. It feels very dramatized, and the thing about it, though, is that in the feel good spirit, in that positivity that it is trying to project onto the viewer, it does possess some warmth within it, even though it is just swimming in the waters of mediocrity. Like it's salvageable because of just the because of that commitment to said spirit. I mean, the score is kind of nice; it has a little charming edge to it, and even though pace-wise it's pretty vanilla, it's substantial enough to create a surface level interest. So while I just don't think there's much to chew on in terms of overall characterizations, developments, like they're not really much of characters. They're just it's just the actors really that you're really just following. I can't even tell you the name of Mark Wahlberg's character. Um, so um, it really relies upon the love for dogs. That's really what it's relying upon. And of course, I love dogs. So I mean, it worked. It worked in that in that very 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 specific sense. But we're talking about an overall film here. It just is lacking in many other factors, just in developments and overall characterizations, and overall just um, like logic. Like they don't really explain how the dog is able to do all these things. Like the dog just is just able to do it. It's one of those miracle stories. And in miracle stories, there's obviously, it's just their way of saying we don't wish to explain it because we don't want to make it boring. But yeah, it's one of those that's heavily embellished, heavily dramatized, and thankfully though possesses some warmth and a lovable furry figure at the center of it, which surprisingly is fairly expressive, because usually when you have dogs on screen, they just look at you like, but Arthur is fairly expressive in this. Like the little head nods, and the yeah, they do the classic, like the little vocal deliveries. But it's fairly expressive, when that little dog is on screen. Um, but yeah, painfully average, I would say. It is painfully average. It is nothing awful, nothing horrible. Um, I would say just something that you would find on television. It's just something that's disposable. It's something that you will find on television, something that you just put on, just to watch something. It's kind of like comfort food if you are a dog lover. If you are in that sphere, you might find some comfort in this and find some enjoyment out of that. But again, it is fairly ignorant. You have to view it as a film. But and I would say overall, the film in general, you can describe it as that, is that it's fairly ignorant in that it wants to be feel good, but it wishes to ignore everything that it needs in order to actually gain more of an interest and more of a heavier sense of weight. in that we need better characters, better writing, better execution. And what you get from it is just something that is okay, just by definition, just in all caps, just okay. So, I mean, yes, I did cry. I cried a lot watching this, but like I said, it's a lot to do with just my connections with my dog. Um, but, um, but as a film, as just on its own merits, just what it's doing, it's okay. Just really, really okay. So, and it had the potential to be bad. Like there are points where things are going like just narratively how it's trotting along. It could have gotten bad, but thankfully it didn't. It just stayed in mediocrity, and ultimately that's where it stands. It's just okay, and there's nothing more to say than that. Just fine. So, yeah. So there's my thoughts on Arthur the King. It's okay, just okay. And as I said, I am detaching my feelings because I don't want to color this review and manipulate how I feel about the film. But obviously, if you are big on dogs, you might get to that place like I was. If you had a dog, obviously this might get to you a little bit. But as a film, as it is, it's just okay. So it's not on the level of like Patriots Day or whatever Mark Wahlberg's probably done that's better. Um, it's fine. It's just fine. So those are my thoughts on Arthur the King. You guys know your thoughts on Arthur the King if you guys have seen it. If you guys are dog lovers yourselves, let me know. And any thoughts on just Mark Wahlberg in general, just with how his films have been going, and what's the next? Is there news on his next collaboration? Just curious as to what his next collaboration is with this director, because I heard it's more than just one. But that's gonna be it for me, guys. You guys let me know all your thoughts in the comment section below, and that's gonna be it for me, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in, and until then, I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye.